Looks like I have video and we're on YouTube Live. Going to take an opportunity to talk about wintertime services today, as I'm going to try to take an opportunity every day to reach out and talk to you folks about that. I apologize. Normally I'd have a green screen. I'm working on getting a more professional setup. Uh, but, I want to take this opportunity to reach out and talk to my customers, talk to my peers, and others that may be interested in a professional pest control man's take on things. Many of you know I've been in the business for about 20 years. I own Roberts Pest Control out of Festus, Missouri, www.robertspest.com. Facebook, of course, we'll have all those links. I'm still trying to slowly figure all that out. But I get a lot of questions recently about wintertime service and what's done. And, Roberts is doing some different things than what they've done in the past. And I'd like to explain that. I'd like to take a minute to explain that. Anybody that has reached out and watched our channel is seeing that we've implemented things like the Pest tool. We have also implemented Heumann granular spreaders that are electronic that speed our job up. We have implemented B&G electric tops to make our services faster and more efficient. Backpack applications, backpack sprayers. Many of you may have noticed guys wearing wet backpacks. They're about 4 gallons. They've got like a wand and whatnot on them, and it's a power spray basically. Having those items in the arsenal help us to more efficiently service you and service your needs without increasing your costs. Is it an investment for us? Absolutely it is, and it's an investment that's well spent because what is going on in this market, in my opinion, of course everything here is my opinion, so let's just get that out of the way. I call it production pest control. You get scumbag companies that come out there, and that's what they are. Hate on me all you want, that's what they are. They're scumbags. If you're dealing with one of these companies, they run in, they run out as fast as possible. The guy's paid on production. Maybe he's getting 20% production, maybe he's getting $24 an hour, I don't know. But whatever it is, your costs are increasing, and that company's making way too much money based on what they're giving you. You get 2 types of guys in this industry. You get a guy that cares. You get a guy that is a production pest control guy. And that production pest control guy will, speed through your stop and make as much money as he can. It's human nature. It's greed. It's greed at its very finest. Instead of, those companies putting their foot down and saying we're going to be quality over quantity, they are the opposite approach. And many of them are folks that have been in the business for several years, been models for my business in the past and other businesses. As a matter of fact, a local pest control owner and I were talking this morning about a particular competitor that seems to be putting branches up everywhere. This man and his brother pretend to be a local company, and that may have been true in their daddy's age, but that is not true anymore. They are ran by, I don't even know what they're ran by, but it's ran like crap. And that's one thing you guys should be able to appreciate about me, is that I don't pull my punches. If it looks like crap, it smells like crap, it's probably crap. We get tons of complaints from this company. It's a very well-known company in the St. Louis area, and we get a lot of complaints from customers, and some of it is the customer not being able to do the math. Sometimes if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And that's what the consumer's got to remember is, if you're an apartment complex, for example, and this was the example I cited today, and a guy like me comes in and says, okay, your apartment complex is, I'm just going to throw numbers, $1,000 a month. This well-known local company that spends all this money on advertising here and advertising there, and look at me, I'm Mr. Slick Shit. Sorry. Told you, I don't pull punches. They come in at $100. Now you're thinking to yourself, how in the world is that possible? It's not. It's 45 minutes worth of service. It isn't even that. It's not even service. These guys are getting in and out of the truck as fast as they can because the guy's making 18 to 20%, and then he's speeding through your stop as fast as possible. Here, Mr. Customer, sign my ticket. On to the next. Well, that guy makes more than a guy like me that goes out and takes 12 stops a day versus a guy that takes 20. Yet there's nothing going off in the customer's mind saying, hey, I'm getting the shaft. And that's what you're getting. If you're that customer, you're getting the shaft. And it's time to do that math. It's time to realize what the difference between what you're getting versus what you should be getting. And what you should be getting is an honest approach to your pest control, an honest approach to any of your services. Services cost, guys. That's just fact. They cost. And unfortunately, in this market, everything costs. Your gasoline costs, your vehicle expenses have gone up, your insurance expenses have gone up, and employees want raises, and everybody wants something, and we're in the same boat that everybody else is in. We've got employees that want medical insurance, and they want this and they want that, and we refuse to sacrifice quality for quantity. We could do the exact same thing. I could make that my business model, change my name to ABC Pest Control Company, and just not care. That's not who I am. I want to sleep at night. I want to get your service. I want to do things for you the right way, as per the label, as per the law. Even though there's not enough state regulators out here to catch all these yahoos that do all this. And it's not just the big guys, there's small guys that do this too. That's why it's so important for you to do your research. It's so important for you to go out to Google, to go out to Facebook, to go out to these places. Do your research on a pest control company. Ask your friends. Don't go because they've got a big budget and you saw them at some venue. You saw them at some venue and, oh man, they must be good. They can afford to put their stuff up on the Jumbotron. And all that means is they sell 10 and they keep 2. That's their game. That's all of these national mindsets. That's all these conglomerate mindsets. I'm going to sell 10 of you, but I'm only going to keep 2. And by the time the other 8 cancel, I've sold 100 more. You see how this works? It's basic math. If I'm constantly keeping 2, then my numbers are growing, even if I'm making $1. Now, the problem with that is when they get into my realm of it, this was funny because this was actually a discussion that he and I had today. Another local guy and I had today. And what he called it, I won't repeat, but it's just in the back of my head and it just makes me laugh. But Charlie's Pest Control, Charlie style pest control, Charlie and so style pest control. They're trying to make it impossible for us to service you as our customer. And it's over price, and it's over, I'm going to put this hook out there, and I'm going to wait for you the customer to bite on it. I'm going to reel you in. I'm going to reel you in. I'm going to get you on some contract. I'm going to get your credit card on file, and I'm going to keep charging you, keep charging you, keep charging you, keep charging you, keep charging you. And until you get so upset, you go out to Better Business, or you go out to this one, or you go out to that one, or you go out to this one, and you complain, or you cancel your credit card in some cases. There have been companies that have snaked customers from us. That's taken the customer 3 months to realize they're getting the shaft on it. They call us back and say, hey, can we continue? Of course we can. Of course we can continue. We'd love to have your business. We go to take that customer over and, hey, I gotta suspend my service because so-and-so's pest control company that came door to door and said, well, I can beat Roberts. They're still charging my credit card. I got a lady that's been dealing with a national outfit that came into town that poses as a local outfit, and these people are the furthest thing from a local outfit, still charging their credit cards. I mean, you've got all those customer service problems that happens, and it's not right. It isn't right, but the consumer's got to play smart here. Okay, so that I guess is kind of the point of this to you, is do your research. Stick with good locals. Make sure these good locals that you thought were there aren't actually conglomerates. Do your research. We've got tools now out there like Reputation Defender, which I think is a load of crap. I think I think Google should do a better job of the review engines. Even my reviews are not absolutely perfect. I'm highly rated. I'm a highly rated pest control guy. But I do have 1 or 2 little bumps, little blemishes out there, okay? And those little blemishes were not my fault. I think anybody of intelligence would read those and be like, yeah, this guy's nuts. Or this guy really misunderstood what was going on. One in particular was, someone that wasn't even involved in a situation. And the other was an ex-employee that, I'm going to go out to Google and teach you a lesson. Okay? Well, I can't go to Google and say, hey, track that IP down. I guarantee it came from this person. And hey, here's what happened in this circumstance. Here's the documentation we have. Please repair our reputation. I guess that's why folks like Reputation Defender and those other services exist. But it's proof positive that if you have enough money, that you can pay to make anything go away. And it's not right. That's not the right approach to business. I got into business to sleep at night. I didn't get into business to be a cutthroat. I think there's more than enough business out there for me and all of the other local guys and even the national conglomerates. But there's such a greed going on in the service industry right now. And you got a lot of startup companies that are getting into this thing that have no business even being in pest control. They have zero experience. They're hiring guys at high dollar. And these guys that are stupid enough to take this money are being used. You're being used because they're using your professional license. That's your license. That's nobody else's license. If you're a certified pesticide applicator in the state of Missouri, that's your license. It doesn't belong to your employer. It's yours. So why are you going to let somebody from out of town who has zero clout, who has zero skin in our local game, come in and offer you a buttload of money and ride your license for a year just so that they can kick you to the curb the first chance they get? It's going to happen. If it ain't happened to you, it will, unless you keep those numbers rolling in. And if you're that kind of guy, to each his own, but that's not the type of guy I am. I value loyalty from customers. I value quality of service over quantity of service any day of the week. I'd rather keep my company small. I would rather make plenty of income to support my children, put my kids through college, not trying to be a 25, 80 million, $90 million outfit. I'm not trying to take my daddy's legacy that he built for me and turn it around into a $90 million monster that I don't even run, that I pay these scumbags that are numbers guys. And let's sell 10 and let's keep 2, and let's sell 10 and let's keep 2. And now we got an army of guys selling 10 over here, and we're losing 8 over here. But these guys are selling an army over here and here and here and here. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I guess if you like money, I guess it's a smart approach to business. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't sleep at night that way. I got to be able to look my children in the eye. I got to be able to look at my wife and say, hey, I'm not some greedy SOB that is going to be a vampire and live off of the misery of others. And that's how I see this. And it's probably going to tick a lot of people off. But I wouldn't be doing my job and I wouldn't be doing my customers an actual service if I didn't call this out. And I think it's complete crap. So, yeah, that's my opinion of that. And I'm going to try to bring you guys content like this all the time. And some of it's going to be very candid. And I'm going to try to polish a little bit as I go along. I just tend to say what's on my sleeve. And when it comes off, it comes off. And, sometimes it's, I'm one of them guys that you either love or you hate. And hopefully 99.9% of you love me, and the 0.1 that do hate me are my competitors for me calling this kind of behavior out, because it's crap. It's rip-off Ron BS. And I wish it would stop, but it only stops with the consumer putting a stop to it, with the consumer being intelligent enough to realize that you're being taken advantage of. When you open a coupon book and you take a coupon, they're preying on you. That's just how it is. And just do your research and find a good local pest control company, even if that's not me. Find a good local pest control company. Find a resource. Reach out to them. Make a relationship with that person and a trust, and know what they're spraying, why they're spraying, and what their plan of action is. And don't just take one side of it. Get a couple of opinions, because we're all different. I get plenty of ideas from other pest control owners, and other pest control owners get plenty of ideas from me. I try to help my peers. I had tried to help my friend this morning, and he was speaking of, he does some attic insulation. He was speaking of, cleaning up an attic, and he had some rodent droppings there, and the customer's upset because they blew brand new insulation up there, and all of a sudden she had a rodent problem. And he said, "Well, I didn't do a rodent job for you. I just did an attic blowout, and we sucked all the bad stuff out, put all the good stuff in. Lo and behold, his service manager, bless his heart's in the right place, went out above and beyond for the customer, and was putting some rodent stations up in the attic to try to take care of that problem for that lady. And he's out at 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. He's a very dedicated guy, and my friend was talking this guy up, and those guys are rare. I've got one that works for me that I feel like he's top notch. My customers love him. And I feel like my friend is blessed to have somebody like that in his business as well, because that's what matters, is employees that care. But I offer that kind of advice to guys. I was telling him about the Bell sensing equipment. You'll notice the box behind me, which we kind of keep some deposit books in. But the Express IQs, a lot of folks don't know, they are Bluetooth. So you can take an application, you can buy what we call an RTU in the industry, which is a smaller lockable rodent station, because it is illegal to put bait in an attic without it being in a tamper-resistant box. Well, if you kind of want to, there's two ways of thought here. If you want to avoid crawling in and out of the attic, which is a liability hazard for any company, because first person to step the wrong way goes through somebody's ceiling. These stations that have Bluetooth will give you accurate readings as far as what goes in them, what goes out of them. So you can walk right into a house, pull your app up, pull your Bluetooth up, and boom, got all the information you need there before you even touch that attic space. So I was telling him about this. I said, you really might want to implement something like that. It is a bit more pricey. There's some equipment costs up front, but if you do it like I'm doing it, you're not selling it to your customer as a product. So that product costs me an arm and a leg. I'm not passing that cost off to that customer. I'm utilizing that as a tool because I can activate it and deactivate it as my problems get solved. So in other words, if you're my customer, you call me, and I'm working in your attic because you have a mouse problem, I can take this product, come back in 2 weeks, pull my app up right in front of you and say, Mr. Customer, here's the deal. I've got station 1, which is over here in this corner, and I've got station 2, which is over here in this corner, and we're going to hit the button. It gets everything that you need, and you pull the first station. And this actually is a true story. This happened to me. Walked into a lady's house, pulled the first station. There were 50 organisms that went in and out of this RTU box. I said, okay, let's see what's on the second one. Hit the second one. And I'm telling my friend this morning because I feel like it's going to be a worthwhile tool for him. And, second one had, probably 40 something on it. And then the next one had another 50. And then the third one had a little bit less. And then the fourth one had a little bit less. They were good, hard numbers. Okay, because when you call a pest control company cannot necessarily tell you the scope of your issue. It's an educated guess based on activity levels that we've seen in the past. It is an educated guess. That's human, okay? Humans are prone to error. And electronics are prone to error, believe me. Nothing's ever perfect. But at least with this tool, I have an accurate count. I have a semi-accurate count of what goes in and out of there. I can verify that by opening the bait box, and surely I did in front of the customer, brought the bait boxes down from the attic, opened them in front of her, and said, okay, here's our supporting data, and here's the pudding. Here's the proof that's in the pudding. And we opened it up, and the bait was completely destroyed. Completely destroyed, had been sitting there for 2 weeks. And she said, okay, well, what do we do? Well, we rebait it, and we come back in 2 weeks. Placed bait in all the boxes, put all the boxes back, came back in 2 weeks. Sure enough, we started up here at 50 hits, and we're down here at 20. And I want to say total between all of the stations was under 60, which was way better than the first visit, because the first visit was well over 200. 200 hits in these stations. So I was like, okay, we're getting some progress here. So I'm actually able to show the customer some tangible data. She says, where do we go from here? I said, well, we're down. I don't feel like coming back every 2 weeks is in your best interest as far as, I'm not trying to milk anybody. Let's come back in 1 month. Loaded the bait stations up, put them back up there. I've got bait stations around her outside of her house too with this same technology in it. So I'm able to pull those numbers too. And I'll use this as a temporary thing. And this was the advice that I had given my friend. Came back a month later and next to nothing. I bet I had 5, maybe 10 total. At that point, I can make that judgment call for that customer. And I can say, okay, we're down to 5 or 10. I'm looking at your outside station. Here's the numbers on your outside stations. the data is supporting, and here's your entry points, and we need to seal these entry points. So now let's seal these entry points, pull these RTUs out of this attic, and let's concentrate on the outside. And if you see anything, call me immediately. I'll come back in, I'll put some more RTUs in, we'll get them knocked out. That's way better than the alternative. And the alternative is for me to guess. And I'm guessing that, every time I come out, I see chewing on these bait stations, that there's more and more and more activity, and I keep coming out and keep coming out and keep coming out until there's no more. Well, I would rather, and my point to my friend is that I would rather have that supporting data. I'd rather have that supporting data, because then it's not just me making that decision, it's me sitting down with my customer. And when I sit down with my customer and I involve them in the process and say, okay, here's where we started, here's where we followed up, and here's where we are now. Now that customer can help me make a decision as to what is best for them, what their priorities are. I'm not making that decision. I'm not possibly misjudging something. The proof's in the pudding. I've got it here. I've got this hard data. I have the stations to prove it. And I can take that information and show that to my customer. So my friend, kind of thought, maybe that's something I should try. I said, well, if you ever want to borrow one, I'll, let you borrow one. And you try it out for a little bit and see what you think. But we use this technology a lot. And we use this technology to try to speed things up for the customer, to try to be better for their pocketbook, because we're trying to be conscious of that customer's pocketbook. And when we're conscious of that customer's pocketbook, that means we have that customer's best interest at heart. We're not looking at you as a number. We're not trying to sell you an obscene amount of service. We're thorough proponents of outside service. We will tell you, the number one thing we sell is a 6-time-a-year exterior on all of our residentials. People call us for quarterly. People call us for twice a year, 3 times a year. Okay, and if that's what you want, we'll give that to you. But we're also going to give you our opinion that these pesticides don't last. And if you don't want issues, this is the most proactive way. Plus, it takes less labor and less time to do than scheduling triannual service 3 times a year. And you've almost paid for a 6-time-a-year versus a triannual, because the triannual is at a higher premium because of what you have to do every time versus the maintenance that you do month after every other month after every other month with the 6-time-a-year. So, there are some fundamental differences there, and it all boils down to having your customers' interests at heart. And, I feel like we do, and I feel like the good local companies that are left, they do. But you get into these national scumbags that want to, sell 10, keep 2. And, that's a really hard thing for a pest control company to combat, unless they're taking to Facebook, unless they're going out here and they're fighting this false information and, these false claims and slimy sales tactics and all this stuff. Believe me, this ain't over. There's a lot more of these guys coming. You've got a lot of startups that they won't pay me $50 an hour, but their billable hourly rate is $100 or $150. There's some of these companies that are $150, $175 a billable man hour, which is ridiculous. I get it. I'm a business owner. Stuff's expensive. I get it. But $200 an hour is insane. If you're a consumer, it is absolutely insane when you could do different with your pest control dollars. You could talk to a guy that thinks outside the box, a guy like me, and I'm not the only one. You could talk to a guy like me. You could talk to others in the industry that have similar takes on these things. And while we all have a little bit of differences and we all do our services different ways, my way of doing things, I feel like is very efficient. However, sometimes it can be taken back to, I had a customer call in this afternoon that, he was a little taken back that, he had seen us take, 20, 30 minutes to do service on the outside of a home. And he had these 2 guys show up and, they were gone in 15. There's 2. Okay, so one goes one way and checks the bait stations. The other goes around the house. It's winter. We're using electric granulators. It does go faster. So I'd explain that to that gentleman. And I told him, I said, I'm always at your disposal. I'm always at your disposal. So if, you don't see these things that I'm promising you, I want you to immediately pick up the phone and I immediately want you to tell Wendy to get a hold of me. And, I'll come out. I'll look at the situation. I'll look at any camera footage you've got, because everybody's got cameras these days. My guys are going to start wearing cameras. We have to these days. We never want our employees to be accused of not going to a stop. which is why we have 3 forms of GPS on them at all times. They've got GPS built into their vehicles. They've got, mobile GPS, and then they also have their phones, and their phones are tied in with our CRM software. And our CRM software, every time they check in and check out, it gets them within 5 feet of that door. So I take all 3 of those pieces of data, and believe me, it happens. You have a customer that, may not have saw them on the camera, or maybe the Ring cameras aren't working. Maybe they're malfunctioning. I don't know what the deal is, but they might question it and be like, okay, hey, here's 3 forms of GPS, and I mean they're typically pretty impressed by this. Oh my gosh, you've got one on the car that's built in. It's low jack just in case it gets stolen, so I can pull that report. And I've got Verizon, which the guys have no idea how to tamper with because I have them locked inside the vehicle, and I can tell if they've been tampered with. So I can take that supporting data, and even if that supporting data is missing, I can take the data from their phones that directly comes into my computer and show that directly to a client, and say, look, 3 forms of information, you're within 4 feet of one another. So yes, he was there. He was here from this time to this time, and that coincides with these. So, as a business owner, there's verifiability, and that's another benefit in dealing with, a good local company that cares, is that you are going to have that verifiability. And when you have that verifiability, you have a company that has your back, and that's what you want. You can pay any price for that, and it's the most valuable thing you'll ever have. Now, of course, you want everything at a reasonable cost, and I think that's the point of this whole live stream. The point of this whole live stream is to know what you're paying for, to know what you're getting, know the difference between rip-off runs and a good local company, and realize that things do cost money. Okay, you don't want the cheapest guy. You certainly don't want the most expensive. You want a guy that's going to meet you in the middle, that he's going to be easy on your budget or fair to your budget, provide you good levels of service, back what he says, or she. There's a lot of she's, and I actually had one of the best female techs I've ever seen, actually 2 of them, the second being my daughter. I've been blessed enough to train 2 female techs in our industry, and both were just phenomenal. They'd whip rings around any guy that I'd put them around. I think they would give myself and my service manager a good run for our money, had they stayed with it and stayed till they were this level. It would have been really interesting to see. But you just know what you're getting. Know what you're getting into. Know your companies. Do your research on your companies. Ask if you've got a bad review. If, hey, what's this about? We saw this out there. What is this about? This was kind of questionable to me. Can you answer this? And, it may be something as simple as, the customer got into a billing dispute, didn't understand the terms of something. There's any different reasons for somebody to go out there and give a bad review. It could be like mine. It could be a former employee that decided he had a Yelp account and he wanted to go out there and he wanted to slam me because he got fired because he got caught for dishonesty. I tolerate no dishonesty. I'll roll through an employee that I feel like is dishonest because I'm not going to send somebody to your home who is dishonest. And anybody that's ever dealt with me knows that. I've rolled through a lot of guys in my career. A lot of guys. Because I expect them to treat their customers the same way that I would treat those customers. And while I recognize they're not me, I do pay guys good money to care. I give them good wages. I give them a good company car situation. I've tried to be fair to all of the guys that I've had in. But, there's a mindset that's out there, especially with employees, that I'm worth this and McDonald's pays this. And, again, McDonald's is a national conglomerate that can do whatever they want. And by paying their employees, they're incentivizing bad behavior, paying their people what they pay them. Because the service industry provides a lot more than just the wage. In a lot of cases in the service industry, the wages are free and clear of the expenses. So these guys get company cars. These guys get some insurance. These guys get all their tools provided for. They get some sort of allowance for it. My guys get all of their tools. All of them. Then they could be running around $20,000 worth of tools at any given time. Especially if they specialize in something. So, just food for thought. Know what you're buying. That's my message for today. Sorry that this took so long. I will get better about the rambling on and on and on, but there are things here, in this local market that just really get my goat. And I really want you as the consumer to have a good experience with pest control. And I don't want you to run through 9 other people before you find a guy like me. And now there's a distrust issue, because that's always unfair to a guy like me. A lot of times I play cleanup. And by the time I get a customer, I've got a customer so, especially with bed bugs, that is so absolutely frustrated that when I hit them with a heat treatment, tell them this can be one and done and this is what it costs and it's expensive. I hit them with that number, and well, last guy charged me that. He took 6 visits to do this. Well, I'm not your last guy. I've got a track record. So, and it's hard to gain that level of trust. So, what the bad guys do affect the good guys. There's lots of bad guys out there. There's a lot less good guys these days. This is Charlie Roberts. If you like what I'm having to say, smash that like button. Give us a call, 636-243-0900. Check us out on our website at www.robertspest.com or at facebook.com/robertspest. Again, hit that like button. It is important. We want to know that you like our content, and if you do, we'll keep it coming.